Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on whichever part of the world you are in right now. Happy summer. I think summer has probably already started with all of us. It is the holiday times. And then welcome to our event. So now we're diving a bit deeper into our summer series event of nailing Uni App into in the summer. And now we're introducing episode 2, which is based on Uni App hacks. Now, if you haven't already scanned the QR code, we would love for you to give it a go because on our Instagram page, you will find more future insights down the line. Right, so as mentioned, this is actually a series of events that EduCrate has created for our IB students during the summer head to get ahead of the curve with your university applications. Even though I try not to pressure our poor IB students, uh, I do want to emphasize that summer from IBDP 1 to DP2 is a very crucial one. So apart from your EE and IA, it's also a time where you can start envisioning your university applications. But obviously, we're here to help you with that as well. So this is why we've created this summer series event, Nailing Your Uni App Over the Summer, with 5 episodes in total, covering 5 different topics, because there's just so many things to uni apps that it's impossible to cover in just one event. We've just finished episode 1 2 weeks ago. It was based on the big picture of uni app. And for those who have attended, I do hope that you found it very useful. So this is not only just helpful for our soon-to-be IBDP2 students, but also something our IBDP1 and our pre-IB students could be watching out for. You can stay in tune, follow us on Instagram, and attend these future events as well. Pretty sure it's going to be very helpful. Now zooming into episode 2 now, here's the agenda. I am Isabel. I'm currently the lead of user acquisition at EduCrate and also your event moderator of the day. So I am an IB graduate myself from class of 2022. So today you will expect from us 3 very intelligent and knowledgeable panelists going to be sharing their experiences on how they started their university applications. And then we will open the floor to everyone who has any questions for our 3 panelist speakers. And now you may want to stay to the very end because we have some special announcements that you probably don't want to miss out on. Now, before we introduce our speakers, let me just quickly pass on this slide to our co-founder, Sally, to introduce a little bit more on what EduCrate is all about. Sally?
Cool. Thank you so much, Isabel, for the intro, and thank you so much for the speakers for joining us, as well as our amazing participants from all across the world. I can see a few familiar names and faces as well, so pretty exciting, and thanks so much for that. So a quick introduction about myself and possibly a bit of background story about why we are doing what we are doing and why you're here today. So I'm Sally. I'm the co-founder and CEO of EduCrate, and to be honest, I'm pretty much about the same age as you guys, maybe 2 to 3 years a bit elder, but please do not address me as Miss Lowe or Miss Sally. Some people did that before. It was quite a fun and humorous incident. But basically, I graduated from Lee Po Chun United World College 2 years ago. It's a IB school back in Hong Kong. I think I scored, if I recall it correctly, 43 out of 45, which was not bad. And again, the entire journey so far has been amazing, a lot of fruitful reflection. I thought after graduating, I'll be saying goodbye to IB, not touch it anymore, because there is certainly a lot of challenges and struggles we have to went through. However, after graduating, I did almost a year of IB tutoring, so doing that as a side hustle myself. And through that, I get to meet a lot of students from across the world who are a bit younger than me. However, there's one issue that I've seen almost every time when they share their IB journey to me, which was the fact that resources provided by schools are not always sufficient, and connections and the kind of support and resources you get are typically confined in the local region at where you're based. So it's kind of difficult to really step out of that zone to reach out and get connected with people from other places around the world who might be in the same boat as you. So then I thought, you know what if I could come up and built this entire platform, a one-stop shop solution to tackle all those things. And that basically leads to the birth of EduCrate. So I guess Isabel could show a quick demo here. So essentially, EduCrate was launched in the summer of 2023. And at EduCrate, we really focus on bringing together students, which are you guys, together with our graduates, which could be people you're seeing today who are speaking as a panelist, as well as educators from all around the world. So our goal is really trying to make opportunity and information a lot more accessible, equally accessible, regardless of who you are as a learner. So you can expect, for example, support in academics and different subjects, as well as opportunities to get involved in research, opportunities to get into micro internship at different organizations, and even scaling your own student-led organization from 0 to 1, not the other way around. So there's certainly a lot going on. And you can see that from this little demo on the screen. There are a lot of interesting features that you can possibly explore and really make the most out of the platform, such as message board, where you can really connect and speak to graduates, educators, and your peers from all around the world, as well as there are a few course booking features there as well that you can check it out later in your own time. So if academic support is something you're looking into, this could be one way to go. But one last kind of thing from me is that summer is really a crucial time, especially for many incoming DP2 students to make a head start about your Uni App, TOK, EE, IA, etc. preparation in those areas. So do check out our platform and our social media if you are, let's say, looking for a possible free trial with our amazing educators onboarded to kind of look into your specific needs. And last but not least, for this session, we really hope you to make the most out of it. So being active and interactive is usually the key. I know that current setting does not allow you to unmute yourself and turn on the camera, but if you have any questions or anything you want to share, please use the raise hand button, and then Isabel will be able to kind of let you to speak out and get involved in the interactions. So that's all from me. Enjoy the session and hope to see you around, okay? Cheers.
Right, thank you, Sally. Actually, just a quick correction. I've changed the setting. Everyone should be able to turn on their camera, be able to unmute yourself, because I do see that our group isn't really that big today. So why don't we just make this a very interactive, even a very casual or like a fun one that where everyone could bounce ideas off of each other. I mean, that is like the purpose of what we do over here. We're all of similar age. We all did IB. There should be a lot of things that we can talk about. Okay, so now, without further ado, let me introduce you to our panelist speakers today. So we are really honored to have Yu Chen from Northwestern University, Josephine from Oxford University, and Jenny from London School of Economics and Political Science, also known as LSE. So in terms of the agenda for today, we are going to start with the introductions and the presentation of each of our speakers. They will be giving you an overview of their previous background. And in the meantime, if you have any questions in mind, you can always pop them into the chat so that our panelists will always give you a hand and we will go through them during the Q&A session. Right, so let's start. Let's start off with Yu Chen then, for her to first start sharing her experience with university applications. Let's welcome.
Of course. Hi guys. It's really nice meeting you guys all here. So yeah, I am a first year student at Kobe College right now, but I applied transfer this year and I was accepted into Northwestern University and Brown. And I was committed to Northwestern. Yeah, so I graduated from Li Po Chun United World College of Hong Kong as well. And I'm currently on financial aid. And because I'm a UWC graduate, I am also a recipient of Davis Scholarship, which is basically a scholarship you can get if you are in need of FA as like a UWC graduate, and then the UWC funds you for like your US university attendance, etc. I really do have a wide variety, like a wide range of interests. I'd say mostly biology and life sciences, but I also I'm very passionate about political science and mathematics. So, yeah, and in my first year of college, as well as I guess during the IBDP era, I explored a lot of subjects and disciplines. And then, yeah, so today I'm going to share a little bit about my first year experience at Kobe College, what it looks like to be a student in a liberal arts college setting, my reasons for transfer, and some tips on Uni App. Yeah, so let's start with Kobe. Sorry, could you go back to the previous slide? Yep, it's okay. I'd say I really like Kobe. It's very much similar to a university environment. It's like very small, close-knit community. And because there's no graduate school, the primary focus of most professors are teaching. So there's really this strong focus on knowledge. The courses, I'd say, are really rigorous. Um, and because of the small class sizes, the teachers are able to cover each and most of the time they're able to cover each and every student in the class, and give you enough attention. And also, like, the benefits that come along are, for example, the office hours will not be so crowded. You always have access to the professors you want to talk to, as long as you, like, for example, shoot them an email or just go to them during their office hour times, etc. And this focus on knowledge, or say like how everyone, including your professors and your peers, are dedicated to the courses that you're taking and the labs that you're doing, um, is just, I guess, in general, very good for me. Like I enjoy that. I enjoy learning um, with my peers. So that is definitely one thing I love about Kobe, and I would say all of the liberal arts college environments. Fantastic professors, as I've covered just now. Here, I'd say the professors are all very approachable. They're very, very willing to help. So, for example, I was enrolled in an East Asian Studies course in my fall semester, and it was also like a writing course, like with a focus on practicing our writing skills. And then she would always open up like extra slots for office hours and like designate it to particular students so that we always have like a 20-minute um, with her each week whenever we have like big writing assignments due. Um, and like, I don't know, I'm like never afraid to reach out to my professors because I know that they are always there to help. This is what made my learning experience here extremely good. I know that there are people there for me, and in general, my peers are all very supportive as well. Um, yeah, those are, I guess, in that like make liberal arts colleges a very chill environment and collaborative atmosphere, and it is really like it lies in the core of LAC schools, like liberal arts colleges, and I really do like it. In terms of social life, I'd say it's really, really chill here. As probably many of you know, most of liberal arts colleges lie in the, how can I say, like they're remote from the cities. So basically, we're surrounded by nature. We don't have many other people around except ourselves. So, and like the school is not big either. We have like around 60, no, not 60, I'm sorry, like 600 students per class year. And that just makes everyone very close to each other. Um, yeah. So as you can see in the first picture, that's me and two of my best friends here. Um, Life is pleasant and like we are happy most of the time. What I also like about liberal arts colleges is its closeness to nature. I have a few pictures in the next slide that I'm going to show you in a bit, but I get to like hike mountains. I get to do like ice fishing. I get to just do everything with nature. And the college environment is really, really pretty as well. I enjoy that. It smells very nice too. Um, yeah, I definitely think these are the primary reasons why I love Kobe. Um, as you can see in the picture here, the second picture is me in my genetics lab. Yeah, that is a like 200 level course I got to enroll in my fall semester. So basically my first semester at Kobe. And well, I only knew this later, but then it was um, commonly thought of as one of the hardest courses in the biology department um, at Kobe. But well, the lab was really, really rigorous. We were able to produce like a paper by the end of the lab. And each student had their own projects. We had to stay in the lab, like we always like overstayed the scheduled time. But then it amazed me how rigorous the course and the lab work was. Um, and I was also like surprised that we will be required to write like journal formatted paper by the end as a final product. Um, that was my favorite class in my fall semester, and it also allowed me to know my bio professor, whose lab I stayed in from January till now. It's a molecular genetics lab, and it like to a large extent shaped my interest in molecular genetics too. And the third picture is um, in the in a research institute in Massachusetts. Um, that was a Gen Plan course. We call it Gen Plan because it's a like a small semester that only lasts for a month. But then this is just another example of the amazing opportunities you get to have in a liberal arts environment. It was only 11 students in the course. We got to use all the resources the Research Institute had to offer. We built our own projects. We learned so many techniques, and it was just fantastic. But then, I guess with all these pros, Kobe College also has its like limitations. After a while of being here, I realized that it has relatively limited academic resources. For example, I've taken like 200 level courses and one 300 level course in biology already, and then there's just not much room left in the bio department, and it's only like by the end of my first year. I got to skip the like intro level requirements because of my higher level biology in IB. But then, um, yeah, that was definitely one of the first reasons that prompted my decision to transfer. At the same time, because of the small scale, um, the student community, I'd say, is also not as active as one would expect in a university setting. So it just feels kind of chill, kind of remote from everything. Whatever is happening in the world feels kind of distant from us. And it's not very likely that it would be easy for you to find people that care about the same things or share the same interests. So those are the two big things that um, I guess made me decide that I was going to transfer. Next slide, please. Yeah, and these are just a few more pictures of how good the natural environment here is. The first picture is St. Croix River. It's a river between Maine and the Canadian borders. Um, we went canoeing there in our during orientation. It was really, really, really pretty. The second picture was a winter hike on Tumble Down, very pretty as well. And then it was a strenuous hike, but I really enjoyed it. The third picture is just like along besides campus. There are many ducks. I took it like very recently. And the fourth picture is Acadia National Park. The national park is only like 2 hours drive away from campus. And yeah, as you can tell, it's very pretty. But yeah, having shared all that, I've also want to share a little about how the transfer process looked like in case any of you are interested. So in my opinion, it's just very much like a first year application. The three most important things I'd say are your GPA, the recommendation letters, and the reasons that you want to transfer. One thing that's slightly different from your first year application, quite obviously, is that you are now already enrolled in a college or university. And then, so like the universities that you're trying to transfer to, your targets will be really curious about why you're not as satisfied with the current environment and then why they could suit your interests better. So, spending some time to shape that reason, like that why transfer essay, I'd say, is quite important. And then, other than that, your like college GPA and your college, like research experience, internships, and college like recommendation letters are definitely more important than your high school ones, but they do still consider your high school transfers as well. Um, there's, I'd say in general, transferring is a little easier. It's like compared with first year apps, especially for international students, because I'm not too sure, but then I'd say universities in general recognize um, like each other. So like your rec letters um, and your GPA will speak more to the universities than your high schools. Yeah, but with all that, I'd still say don't like rush to a decision to transfer um, in your first year or even like before you get to experience what your school feels like, because it can be a lot of burden too. As I like listed out in the second bullet point, you will be overloaded with coursework, social life, living independently in a foreign country, possibly, as well as Uni App. Like you have to write all the essays, do all the school research, et cetera, all at the same time. And because you want to have keep a good GPA, as well as probably like you also want to try out some difficult courses so that your transfer will look a little better, or you'll have enough reasons to transfer, but then, yeah, by that time, there are barely anyone who will be on the same boat as you because transfer, I'd say, is still, it's like definitely not a common thing. So, yeah, you will be kind of alone in your own track. But these are, well, yeah, just some realistic things to think about as you make your decision. And also, one con is that there's usually no financial aid for international transfer students. If you're in need of FA, then that's I guess definitely a big factor to take into consideration. Yeah, and some uni app tips. I've gone through some like quite a few application seasons as already, and here are a few tips I have to offer for you. The first thing is to really do good school research and know what you want. Um, like I don't know. When I did uni application, it felt kind of distant. Like I was unable to imagine my uni life here. But then coming to the US and having spent a year here, I know how those factors actually could influence like my day-to-day life. Um, it is definitely a place that you will spend 4 years in. So not just the ranking or the academics that matter, but also think about the location, think about the weather. Are you a kind of person who, um, gets affected by, for example, seasonal depression? Then maybe be careful when you are choosing schools in um, like colder regions or schools that have like fewer sunny days compared with others. Um, does a graduate program matter to you? Like if you um, have an interest in research, then big universities often have um, like more lab options, bigger like research labs, but also comparatively less resources dedicated to each undergraduate student. Um, do you want to mostly do research, or does like pre-professional opportunities matter more to you? Those will all affect your decision in terms of like the location of the school, the kind of the school, like are you applying for liberal arts colleges or universities, et cetera, et cetera. And I do encourage that you do thorough school research and not just look at the ranking. Yeah. And then as for yourself, you should also try to present a coherent image to the admissions office. One thing that I definitely learned from my uni app is that um, show depth, not breadth. Um, Definitely you can find yourself in a lot of activities, but then choose the ones, like present the ones that can form a coherent image, and so that the admissions officers would know what kind of person you are by just looking at your application materials. It's I'd say it's kind of unfair. It's like a little tricky, but then the reality is that they only have very limited time to scan through your app. Um, you only like write a few essays, and then you only, for example, on Common App, have 10 activities that you have to fill out. So do make sure that you're presenting yourself as a coherent, as a comprehensive, but also comprehensive applicant. Um, let them see your passion. Yeah, and do some like additions or like just I guess change your apps accordingly, I'd say is a good strategy. And then um, uh, yeah, one last detail is to start early and set goals. For starting early, I'm definitely not just about the school research, but also about writing your essays. It could be a quite painstaking process, but I'd say good essays takes editing. Definitely allow yourself to go back to the essay, um, like after your first draft. Uh, Sometimes you get this sort of filter, um, like just a few days after writing your essay, but then if you allow yourself like a week or two, you would definitely see um, some limitations of it, and then you will know where you want to edit. And then after time, it just gets better. So trust the process and trust the time that you put in. Start early, no matter like I know it's scary because sometimes you just run out of ideas, but then no matter what, start brainstorming and start writing down your essays earlier. That definitely helps a lot with the app, and then it also like relieves your stress, because you know the third term of IB can be super packed. It's a lot of IAs and EEs and uni apps together too. And in terms of essays, I would also suggest that you present true selves, um, because when you're writing about your like presenting a real version of yourself, you usually have more details and more um, how can I say this, like a more vivid and appealing story to tell. Yeah. That's all for my sharing. On the next slide, there are my contacts. If you have any question about, I guess, everything from UWC to financial aid to first year application to biology, research, and transferring, feel free to contact me.
Thank you so much, Yu Chen. That was such a comprehensive and very insightful sharing from you on, um, your experience at Kobe College, and then why you decided to transfer, as well as some insights on like financial aid and your tips on Uni App. Thank you so much. So, moving on, let's welcome our second speaker, Josephine, to go on and share about her experience with studying in Oxford University.
Hi everyone. Thank you guys for like inviting me to speak. My name is Josephine. I also go by Jojo. I just finished my second year studying law at Oxford, at Exeter College. And just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Jakarta, Indonesia, before moving to the UK to start uni. I was in an international school, did the GCSEs, and then did the IB, like I think everybody else here. And then I graduated in 2022. Um, and now I'm mainly busy with like, well, I was busy for the last year with like internships and all things like that. Because I'm trying to become a commercial lawyer here in London. Um, yeah, I just put some photos there of my time in the UK, very representative. My dogs aren't actually in the UK, they're in Indonesia, but those are my seven Shih Tzus, like my family's seven Shih Tzus. That's one of the stress reliefs I resort to. Yeah, I love coffee, so it's always nice to have that. So I think it's a very stressful degree, so you always have to have a couple things that um, brighten up your day. And I think just simple things like that are very helpful. You can feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on Instagram. Happy to chat. But yeah, that's just like a little bit about me. Today, I'll be speaking about the Jardine Scholarship, and also how I've been finding my degree and what I'm busy with, I guess. So I'm on the Jardine Scholarship. It's a bond-free, merit-based, full ride scholarship given to students across Asia. So you can check the complete list of which countries they particularly offer this to, but definitely Hong Kong, Singapore, all over Southeast Asia, basically. Um, yeah, China, Taiwan, all of that, that's included. And the scholarship is awarded to 10 undergraduates in Oxford and Cambridge across those countries. They also have postgraduate scholarship offers, but I think I'm not going to touch on that just because I think it's not very relevant for the target audience here today. Yeah, so they give out 10 scholarship to undergraduates in Oxford and Cambridge for a range of different subjects, but I think they don't do medicine, so all subjects except for medicine. I think it's also important to note that the scholarship is only awarded to people at specific colleges. So if you know a little bit about Oxford and Cambridge, you know that it's a college-based system. So I'm affiliated with Exeter College. That's where I live. That's where I have my tutorials, and you don't really interact as much with the different colleges. So it's like a mini university in this really big university network. And Jardine only works with 4 out of the 39 colleges in Oxford and 4 out of the, I don't know how many colleges in Cambridge. So you have to get an offer from that specific college, unfortunately. You could see this as well on their website, but for Oxford, it's Exeter, Oriel, Trinity, and Queen's College. And for Cambridge, it's Peterhouse, Downing, Trinity, and Magdalen College. So that's just something to bear in mind. A little bit about the procedure. It's a parallel procedure with the Oxford applications. So you start off by sending your UCAS application, which contains your personal statement, your grades, your predicted grades, and some recommendation letters. And then you save that application form and you submit it to Jardine. So in the Jardine application form, they'll ask for your completed UCAS submission form, and you're also expected to write a Jardine personal statement. A lot of people have asked me whether the Jardine personal statement should be the same as the UCAS personal statement. I personally would advise against that, simply because they do have your UCAS application form already. So it's going to be quite repetitive if they just read 2 very similar personal statements. If anything, I would advise you guys to optimize your Jardine personal statement to talk about things that you couldn't cover in the Oxbridge one, because the Oxbridge one tends to be very, very academic and very much related to your degree, and displaying a certain passion for that degree and subject. Whereas I think for my Jardine personal statement, I talked a lot about my other activities. So if you do sports, volunteering, any of that, I think it's best mentioning that in the Jardine personal statement to show that you're more than just your grades and your interest in the degree. And then after that, the second stage would be the Jardine video interview. There, you're going to be asked about a lot of general questions, I guess, about your general awareness of the world. I can't remember each and every question, but I think they're quite keen to understand my interests and my global awareness. So what's been going on in the news, like the big issues, and my stances on those issues. So I thought that was my big impression of the Jardine video interview. You don't really have an interviewer. It's like a job application interview where you have like certain questions pop up and you have like a minute to prepare and like a minute to speak, and you can't re-record your response. So that's the Jardine video interview. And then I had, after that, my Oxford law interviews that happened in December. So if you could see, the Jardine video interview happens in November, the law interviews for Oxford happens in like December. So that's when most of the Oxford interviews take place. I had a grand total of 3 interviews, 2 at Exeter College, 1 at St. John's College. Sometimes you get reallocated like that. And at that point, I was really, really betting on getting an offer from Exeter, because if I ended up getting an offer from St. John's, my opportunity for the scholarship would just be non-existent, basically. So I had 3 interviews, and that's very academic. It's very much substantive, like legal knowledge. Well, they say you don't need pre-existing legal knowledge, but I guess it's just like you get asked about your opinions in a certain case, and that certain case is very much law related. So that was the law interviews. And then I got my conditional offer from Exeter College, Oxford, and I sent that immediately to Jardine. I inquired, I was like, oh, like I got my offer from Exeter. What are the next steps? And they told me that I was invited to their final assessment. Pre-COVID, this used to happen in Hong Kong. So they would fly you out to Hong Kong to have the interview in Jardine House in Central. Um, well, I hope you guys seen the Jardine Housing Central? It's quite an iconic building with like circular windows. Yeah, that's you have the interview in the 48th floor typically, but um, I had mine online. It consisted of a 45-minute written assessment. It was just like a random essay topic that you had to like research on. It was also very like a global awareness issue. And then I had an interview with, I think, 7 interviewers. Some of them are part of the Jardine board. Some of them were part of Oxford or Cambridge. So I had my rector interview me there, and that was mainly about my written assessment, my application, my future aspirations, my interest in the law. So it really is varied. That lasted for about an hour, I think. And then, like, I think 2 days after that, they gave me the scholarship offer. And that was conditional on my Oxford offer being met. So if your offer is from Cambridge, automatically you will have a higher conditional offer because they have a higher like grade requirement. Whereas Oxford was very generous. I think they gave you like a minimum requirement of like 38. And 666 at higher level or something like that, the equivalent of triple A at A levels. So I got my IB grades. I got a 43. I met the grade requirements, rendering both of the offers unconditional. So that was the parallel procedure. It's quite like a mouthful, like I've just talked at you. So if you guys have any questions about the specifics, very happy to chat about that either here or like um, online after the session. But I think something I would emphasize about the Jardine Scholarship is like my biggest advice is that you want to show that you're more than just your grades. Because if you have the Oxbridge offer, most likely you're applying with a predicted grade of 45 or something around that range. I applied with a predicted grade of 45. Everyone I knew kind of applied with predicted grade of something around that. So if you got the Oxbridge offer, then it's kind of testament of your academic excellence, but that's not what Jardine will be giving you your scholarship on. I think it's very much important to highlight the fact that you're so much more than just your grades. And I know that's really difficult to do because the IB is quite rigorous, but I think that the IB program really helps you in a way because you have to do CAS. I'm pretty sure you're still doing that. Yeah, the CAS and you're expected to do your passion projects and stuff like that. So leveraging on that during your applications might be helpful. I talked a lot about my involvement in Model UN. I did some volunteering. I used to write a lot for different student magazines. So these were points that I really capitalized on during my application for Jardine. So I didn't really talk about my grades because that's just like a numerical figure that they already can see. So I didn't really talk about my academics, but I talked about everything else going on in my life, all my other positions of responsibility and things that I kept myself busy with. So that's about the application for the scholarship itself. I would definitely recommend the Jardine Scholarship. I genuinely think, okay, this is probably biased. So I was going to say it's my unbiased opinion, but this is me trying to be as objective as possible. I think that it is one of the better scholarships out there because it's bond free. I think that was a very crucial point for me because I want to study law and I can't go back to Indonesia to practice law because I would have had to do the law degree in Indonesia. They don't have conversion opportunities. I know with the UK and Hong Kong, there is conversion opportunities, but in Indonesia, I would have to redo the entire degree. So that means that I had to, I can't have a scholarship that forces me to go back to my home country, which meant that I didn't have many scholarship opportunities. But Jardine is bond free. They don't expect you to work for them. They don't expect you to go back to your home country. There are no legal requirements that they impose on you. They're also very kind. They don't have like a minimum grade requirement to make sure that you still have the scholarship. Everybody kind of meets like a pretty good like grade level, but that's not, you don't have the added pressure of being like, oh, I'm going to lose this scholarship if I don't get a first. So I think that's something to bear in mind as well. So once you get the scholarship, they really do nurture you and they actually offer very interesting opportunities. They give you a directory each year with people, all of the Jardine Scholar alumni. Um, people from like 30 years ago who are like managing directors at, I don't know, like JP Morgan, right? So these people have climbed up the ladder quite substantively since they graduated. They're Oxbridge alumni, they're Jardine alumni. Sometimes they even offer you job opportunities after that. You have a lot of networking activities. I was part of the Jardine Scholars Council, and we organized so many socials within Oxford and Cambridge, and we also organized an alumni networking activity. Jardine itself also organizes 2 annual dinners with all of the scholars, so you form a really big community. And I think it's cheesy, but it really is more than just a scholarship. I think another opportunity that they offered me, I think we could go to the next slide, possibly. I think it might have been next slide, was the 6-week summer internship at Jardine Mathis in Hong Kong. And that was kind of the building that I was referring to. Yeah, so there I had a 6-week legal internship with their in-house team for group legal, and I spent 3 weeks of that at one of their subsidiaries, DFI Retail Group. So actually Jardine is super massive. They own a lot. They're a huge conglomerate, and DFI Retail Group might not be familiar to you guys, but when I say the brands listed under that, they own Welcome, they own Mannings, they own all the big brands. They have 7-Eleven, that's all over Hong Kong. I was working with the YU Loyalty app, and that's also part of Jardine. That's just on the front of retail, so DFI Retail Group. But the bigger group encompasses Hong Kong Land, which owns basically Landmark and the whole of Central. They own a couple of the biggest conglomerates as well in Indonesia. So they're definitely a big player in the market. So I think how that has helped me is give me more commercial awareness as well. When I was applying for actual law firms, I managed to talk about my internship opportunity at this big conglomerate that is potentially a future client of the firm. So that's something that I found very helpful. I also made really good friends and really good connections over those 6 weeks in Hong Kong. They pay for your hotel. Like if you're not from Hong Kong, they pay for your flights. They give you a salary for all your like basic expenses. They give you a pretty decent hotel as well. It was like in Causeway Bay, like 4 stars. Like they treat you well basically. So I think actually I have like nothing bad to say about Jardine, the scholarship. So I think I would definitely recommend everybody to apply. Um, Yes, so that's about Jardine. I know that I was supposed to talk mainly about Jardine, so that's why I spent the chunk of the last few minutes talking about Jardine. There are also other financial aid opportunities, but in the UK, I think it's not the same as the US where it's like financial aid. So Jardine specifically didn't ask me for any of my tax like receipts, returns. They don't look at your finances at all, basically. Because a lot of the people who got the Jardine scholarship, if we were looking at tax returns, basically, probably that's not, I don't think that's the main identifying factor. So I wouldn't say that it's in the same sense of financial aid, because I applied to UPenn. I think, yeah, I applied to one US university, UPenn. I didn't get it for good enough reasons, but I remember having to apply for financial aid, and that required me to tell them like, oh, what my parents were doing, like these are my tax receipts and all that. So I think it's a completely different game, Jardine specifically. The other scholarship I knew about was Reed scholarship. That's for Oxford. You can look into that. I didn't end up applying because Jardine gave the offer earlier. And like, this is kind of common sense, but you can't apply for 2 scholarships basically. So if you have one scholarship to pay for your tuition, you can't have another one. I think that's just basic common sense. But yeah, so I didn't apply for Reed, but they give it two scholarships each year to one student in humanities and one student in STEM all over the world. So the odds are less likely there, but that's for the rest of the world. But that's only for Oxford. I was looking into my other universities that I applied to, and I was looking for scholarship opportunities there. But I think safe to say Jardine was kind of my top pick, simply because it was bond free and because they give you quite a good amount of money. I think they pay for your entire tuition fee, and they give you about probably like 14K a year to like spend on accommodation and food. They kind of expect you to go back during the break, so they don't take that into account. So 14K a year really is just for term time, and Oxford and Cambridge terms are very short. They're just 2 months per term. We have 3 months, 3 terms total. So realistically, you only have 6 months of actual like school. That's why the stipend is adjusted accordingly. So that's all I was gonna say about Jardine. Happy to talk more about that, but just conscious of time, I will move on. Next slide, please. Yes, so this is just a little bit about law as a degree and law as a career. I think it's a very different, very, very different. The two things are very different. Because actually to be a lawyer in the UK, you don't even need a law degree. Yeah, you could just any degree works. I think that's very different from Indonesia, very different from the US, where people go to law school like right after their undergraduate degree. They can't even do it as like an undergrad. Um, so in the UK, the law degree could help, definitely, but you don't need it. It's not essential to the career. And what I realize is that my degree at Oxford is very much law. It's substantive law, it's theoretical law, whereas the career that I'm chasing after to be like a commercial lawyer is very much commercial. So um, you don't really have a lot of actual law in it. It's just like serving your clients and serving your businesses. Um, yeah, I'm just conscious that maybe you guys don't care about the law at all. I'm just gonna talk about the degree than what I've been doing. It's very challenging, very demanding, but it's very interesting. I'm very happy that I chose this degree. I loved it. I love it. I do. You write about 2 essays a week each, probably like 1,500 words. And that's about like new topics each week. You get like a reading list to go through. The recommended reading time is 45 hours a week. So that's the term time. So that's why terms are very short, but they're very, very busy. So if you do prefer that, if you do prefer working really, really hard for 8 weeks and then going for like an 8 week holiday after that, I definitely recommend like Oxford, Cambridge. That's like that's the learning type that you're looking at. There are lectures. We have 200 people in law per year. 5 people go to the lectures. Very poor lecture turnout. Like there's not a lecture culture. You just read independently. You read independently, you learn independently. You sit a tutorial where they grill you about the essay that you wrote independently, and then you learn so much faster that way. That's what I found at least. I was quite nervous because there's very little hand holding. Whereas in school, you had like, okay, I'm going to have this class today. I'm going to do this class. I'm going to do my homework based on what I learned in the class. Whereas in Oxford, you don't really have classes. You just do the reading independently, and then you kind of learn independently. And then you have a 1 hour tutorial with a really big legal academic, for example, and they'll ask you about your knowledge, your pre-existing knowledge, and really build on that. And I thought that was very helpful. Um, uh, but yes, so that's I think the culture shock that I had coming into uni, and I realized that it was very different from a couple of my friends who were in US universities where there are more structured classes and different type of work as well. So that's just something more particular to Oxford and Cambridge, I think, is that independence in learning and very limited contact hours if you're gonna do a humanities subject. Because I know the STEM students in Oxford, they do go to lectures. It's a strong lecture culture, but law particularly has a very, very poor lecture culture. Um, yeah, my degree is very much theoretical compared to the Cambridge law degree. You can only choose Oxford or Cambridge. I chose Oxford because I was very drawn to this theoretical element. That's why it's called BA in jurisprudence. Yeah. A lot I'm part of a lot of law societies. I was like a member of the Oxford Law Society. I'm in the senior teams of the Commercial Law Society because I want to do commercial law, but I'm also very much invested in academia. So I'm in the Law Journal. It's an undergraduate law journal. And the middle picture over there is our most recent event with two Supreme Court justices, Lord Briggs and Lord Sales of the UK Supreme Court. One is a private law judge, one is a public law judge. If you've read anything about the Brexit cases, Lord Sales was on both Brexit-related cases, Miller 1, Miller 2. And yeah, I'm not really gonna get into it further, but that's something to look at if you're interested in, legal academia. Probably not. But that was something I was keen on. As a career, I was quite surprised by the solicitor versus barrister distinction. I know that exists in Hong Kong, but I wasn't very sure about what that meant. But basically, barristers really focus on that point of law. They go to court, they speak in court. It's very much legal. Whereas if you're a commercial solicitor working on like an M&A transaction, you're probably not going to be working with a lot of law at all. It's going to be mainly commercial. I quite liked the Harvey Specter Suits life, so I was like, oh, I think this is going to be appealing. It's much more admin, less fun than Suits, but I think that's, most careers if you take it out of Hollywood. I ended up still liking it a lot. I did quite a lot of insight days. I think I did like 5 insight days in my first year. It was like first year schemes, and then I did 2 vacation schemes or like internships in the spring. I'm doing I'm doing 2 more in the summer. So I'm going to my last one next week. And then you get like this training contract offer, which basically means like your graduate job offer. So I'm looking at that right now. It's competitive but doable. So I think that's just like what I'm mainly busy with is the degree and the career, because those two are very separate things. You have the degree that is very academically rigorous, as I said, like 45 hours a week is expected for reading. And then you have the career side, which is so different that you have to apply to. It's like a whole job in and of itself. The job application it's quite busy. So that's something that takes most of my time. And yeah, that last picture right there is just coming out of my last internship at Sidley Austin, an American law firm. Can we go to the last slide, please? Yeah, so what do you do outside of law? As I said, like the degree and the career is very consuming. So whenever I get asked like in an interview, like what do you do outside of law? I find it very difficult to answer because most of my societies and my positions of responsibility are very law related because that's something I really like. And I don't have many responsibilities outside of it, but I think, what do I do outside of law? It's mostly just spending time with friends. These are very Oxford activities, so that's punting. Like you can punt in like the rivers. The first photo is like the ball. So Oxford colleges have balls. Yeah, it's just like fancy parties that you pay like an extortionate amount for, but it's very fun. Would recommend. And I really like taking photos with my film camera. So that's something I do around Oxford. It's quite a pretty city, very filmable. And I'm quite good friends with the Indonesian community. So it's a very limited Indonesian community. So there's 13 undergraduates across the 4 years. So it's small, it's tiny. I am the only law Indonesian undergraduate in the whole university across the 3 years, 4 years right now. But because it's so small, it's very tight knit, always a fun time. But yes, I think that was the end of my slides, was it? Yeah, so that's just a little bit about Oxford law, Jardine.
Thank you so much, Josephine. I think that was a really, really insightful and very thorough presentation on like for example, like the financial aid. Not exactly saying like, oh, everyone has to apply for the Jardine scholarship, because obviously not everyone is going to be qualified. I mean, because depending on whichever place that we're going to be studying, and also I'm pretty sure there's like some criteria or some qualities that you have to fulfill. But it's just getting everyone that to start thinking about if you will want to apply for financial aid during your university life, it's going to be very helpful for you. It's not just on the monetary side. As Josephine mentioned, a lot of scholarships, it's about the connections and the networking behind that as well. So thank you very much. Also very insightful, and I think very helpful for students who are thinking about applying to either law or Oxbridge, really. Thank you. So moving on, last but by no means the least, let's invite Jenny from LSE to talk about her experience with university.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name's Jenny, and I have a more complicated background, I would say. So I was born and raised in Budapest, Hungary, and when I was at age 5 to 10, I was not good at Mandarin, so my parents sent me back to elementary school in China, and so I did 5 years there. After age 10, I came back to Budapest and I went to American International School, Budapest, where I did the IB program as well. And so I did HL, economics, psychology, English A, Lang Lit, and then SLs were math AA, chemistry, and French. And I took the IB May 2022 exam as well. I think that was the first in-person exam after COVID. And I scored 42 out of 45. And I think for English, I was like 1% away from 7, but not anyways. And so first of all, I have chosen to attend the University of Toronto, which I had a fantastic time over there. The social life is amazing in North America. And but then and also another reason why I wanted to move to University of Toronto was that I have lived in Europe and some parts of Asia for my entire life. I wanted to explore and use the studying opportunity to really live and explore a new different continent. So that was the first reason. The second reason was that it offered me a 100,000 Canadian dollar scholarship as well. So it was included in the offer letter, which I personally, when I was like applying for uni, I did not apply for. And so I just thought it would be a very brand new experience. So I first attended University of Toronto, met a bunch of great friends, and we're still in contact with each other, even though I came back to the UK. So during my time at University of Toronto, everything else was good, other than two major factors that made me wanted to switch uni. So first of all, so I majored in psychology and human resources, and so I just remember my first lecture was filled with 1,000 people in the graduation hall. This is in North America, so it was a great drastic juxtaposition comparing to my international high school, where each class is capped at 20 people. So you really get the chance to build a personal connection with your teacher as well as the peers around you. But in a 1,000 people setting where your teacher looks like this small in front of you, it's it's a very different learning experience. And I thought I might just, take some more time to get adjust to it. But then I realized that like it's not the academic style that I prefer as a learner. And also I feel like I perform so much better under a more smaller scale setting. So that was the first reason why. And I thought that, I came all the way from Europe to study in North America. I really wanted to use the 3 or 4 years in my undergrad to really grind and really learn the hardcore stuff. So if I don't like the academic style over there, what is my reason staying in here? And also, I don't intend to like have a career in North America, anyways. So that was the first reason. Second reason was that I think safety is a big issue in North America, especially in US and Canada. So I remember for the first month that I was there, my Burberry bag was stolen in this university gym. And I think back in like February, so in the winter term, my iPhone 13 Pro, that time, it was like an iPhone that I earned like myself because I was doing IB tutoring. And so it was stolen from my winter jacket pocket when I was walking on like the streets with my friend. And I think it's also because the winter jacket is quite puffy, so you don't really feel that, you know, your phone has been taken out. It wasn't until that we went to a very beautiful cafe that I wanted to take pictures and share with my friends that I realized, wow, where did my phone go? So I think safety is a big issue, and living in Europe for so long, we don't see so many homeless people on the streets. So homelessness is a big issue in North America as well. Um, as well as, you know, shooting as well, alongside with like stabbing cases that you hear often on the news or just around you. And also the drug is not under control, and that was one of the major reason why it led to so many like random stabbing or shooting cases. So I think these two are the major reasons why that I have decided, oh, I'm not sure if I wanted to stay here. And my first of all, my safety is not secured, and second of all, I don't really enjoy the academic style of learning in here. So then I have just made my choice to apply to the London School of Economics. If you could move on to the next slide, please. So right now I'm studying at the London School of Economics. It's abbreviated version LSE, and it's located in London, which I find to be so much more safe than Canada, I would say. Even though London itself, it's not like a super safe city, but then I think if you compare Europe to North America, Europe is generally a lot better. So I'm doing a degree in Bachelor of Science, Psychological and Behavior Science at the LSE. It's a very, very interesting course that combines psychology and behavior economics, which is the area of psychology, the social side, that I was more intrigued in. So I didn't really choose to go to other unis because I see that lots of their modules were very focused on the biology as well as the science side. So I thought LSE is a great combination. It offers the great combination course for me. And for the London School of Economics, because I had the experience at the University of Toronto too, that I heard that, you know, you can actually apply for scholarship. So when I was reapplying to the UK, I applied to the LSE scholarship after I received the offer, and I have granted I think it was LSE undergraduate scholarship. It's called Francesca Sporsky Scholarship. It's offering around 30,000 pounds per year. So it covers all my tuitions and it has a little extra like pounds for every year. So like it covers for the 3 years, so that's a very, very good one. But then I think it's very restricted in a way because you have to be a citizen of Central European countries. So it is a very niche kind of scholarship. So I think in terms of that, there are also other, like I think there are like 18 something scholarships offered by the LSE. LSE is pretty rich, so they're pretty like generous with scholarships, I would say. So do apply to get a chance to apply. I would say the scholarship is very selective, and I think this scholarship is kind of like a financial aid to, in a sense, because at first I applied in April and I was actually rejected in the first place, and I think at the end of July, which is the time that we should hear back from. And so I thought, okay, like, you know, it's a financial aid, so like they have to know your like income and everything. So I was rejected in the first place, but then I think it was because another Central European like student whose like A-level grades came out and didn't meet the conditional offer to the LSE, so they have to choose a new person for the scholarship. And I was very lucky. So it was like 3 days before I depart to the UK from Budapest that I realized that I got a scholarship and it covers all the fees. So I was very happy about that. And so yeah, so that's kind of like my kind of like little journey and a very short description. Next slide, please. So at the LSE, so like starting from the top, so these are some of the other things that I was doing at the LSE. So for IB, I got some academic awards and also received the U.S. President's Education Award for Academic Excellence and for the class of 2022 in my high school. And that was the U of T scholarship and then the LSE scholarship. So at the LSE, I think I'm pretty involved in like pretty much a lot of things. And I'm doing my first year there. I've just finished it. I revitalized the LSE Human Resource Society. I was invited to TikTok headquarters in the UK for a winter gala. and my first class essay got published in our psychological behavior science department website. And I'm a dancer, so I participated in the LSE Dance Annual Showcase, which we have over 500 people as audience. And I was a panel manager at the China Development Forum and a global shaper, Budapest community, and the Global Shapers community, which is an initiative under the World Economic Forum. And I'm representing the Budapest hub. I was also working as a staff researcher at the LSE regarding female empowerment, as well as females' safety in public space and anti-sexual harassment. And I was featured on the British Conference of Undergraduate Research for 2024, and I co-chaired. It was one of the largest British undergraduate research conference. I was also nominated for the LSE SU Award, a nominee for outstanding contribution to the SU, and I was invited back to my high school to give an alumni panel. So these are just like a very brief and short overview of what I have, the journey that I have been on. And yeah, thank you for listening. And I wanted to leave some time for the students to ask any questions, and I don't want to keep it for too long. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I think that was a very insightful a detailed presentation on how you went from U of T to LSE, and then all these very cool activities that you're involved in right now, and also your application to your scholarship as well. Thank you. And I think, yeah, that nicely, transitions to our next kind of like our next session, that after from hearing so many information from all of our three speakers, I think a lot of students will probably have some questions that they have in mind, either about the things that some of this like the speakers touched on, or questions that they have in mind when they're doing their university applications. So again, the biggest thank you to all of our panel speakers. And now we are opening the floor to everyone to drop in some questions into the chat box. But obviously, you can also feel free to unmute yourself and to ask any questions. So just a reminder of who our speakers are today, just to refresh your mind, because I am going to pause share later so that I can see everyone's beautiful faces, since I cannot go back to Microsoft right now when I'm sharing my screen. But anyways, so we have Yu Chen, who transferred from Colby College to Northwestern University, studying biology and mathematics. We have Josephine, who is a rising year 3 final year student at Oxford University studying law. And we also have Jenny, who transferred from U of T, so University of Toronto, to LSE studying psychological and behavioral science, also known as PBS. Okay, so these are the three speakers that we have today. And yeah, let's start with the Q&A session then. Let me stop my share. Awesome. So I do see a hand raised in our attendees. Turfa, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you for the chance. Hello, I'm Turfa, and I'm a current IB student at one of the United World Colleges. And as Yuchen shared her experience, that was very insightful. Thank you to all of you. It was very aspiring and motivational. I was interested to know more about the Uni Apps, especially the essays, because I'm soon going to be a second year student, but also I'm very stressed about the uni essays, in the sense that I wanted the university counselors to look at them and be like, yeah, this is the kind of student we're looking for, because it's very competitive, especially for the universities that are highly ranked. And this question is not directed to Yuchen, but also because she studies in the US, that's why I'm kind of directing it to her. So I was interested to see, how did you make your essays exceptional, and how did the process go for you, because I'm very confused and I don't have any idea how to start my essays and to make them like very outstanding, because the process is very competitive and the universities mainly look for students who outstand and outshine their university application, especially their essays. So I would be happy if you could give me some tips and insights in that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I can start, and if any of you guys have anything to add on to this, please feel free. Yeah, well, yeah, this is a very big question, I'd say, Turfa, and I myself had a tough time like writing my own essays too. I'd say in general, about your personal statement, and well, I guess in general, what applies to all the essays for a US application is that they want you to show your identity and your ideas in a creative way. So, well, you probably have heard of this phrase, show not tell is a common technique that we use for the essays. So while you are like telling your stories and showing different sides of you, they um, yeah, want to see like a more robust image and with how can I say like good writing techniques as well. I would definitely suggest for personal statement, um, start looking at yourself and reflecting on yourself as an applicant from a third person point of view, if that makes sense. Try to imagine yourself as an admissions officer and look at your application profile and think about what is special about me as a student. In the end, for US app, it is really that like what makes you special is what gets you into the university. And especially if you're like the special aspect of you matches what the university is looking for, then well, I guess that like comes in with the school research as well. For example, if you have a particular hobby, if you are like extremely observant, if you're like painting, or if you're very, very passionate about a particular issue, or for example, on the identity side, um, maybe if you have insights about your own identity, um, if like the background, the environment that you've grown up in shaped you in certain ways, then these are definitely good things that you can show in your US like essays. I'd I would definitely suggest just procedurally reading essays that got previous applicants into top unis first, to develop a sense of what the admissions are looking for. For me, like I missed that crucial step in the beginning. I just started with like brainstorming, but then like after I have like a few drafts, I started looking back at the like other people's essays. Um, for example, I think Harvard um, like publish not really publishes, but then they like release like 10 essays ish per year, and then they also like provide comments from the admissions office, so that like you can see what is good about the essay, why this applicant um, stood out to the admissions officers, et cetera, et cetera. I missed that step, and then so like I had to do like I guess like big changes with mine. So I definitely suggest you start with that, and then with brainstorming. In this process, it's also good to have some of your friends or just like students who have gone through this process before, or just like any other people who is willing to help um to like help you review your essay, because they can tell like they could let you know what this essay reads like to a person who never met you before, for example, because this is the situation that you would be in the conversation, like in a I guess like written conversation with the admissions. Yeah, though I think those are a few tips that I have.
Right. I hope that answers your question, Turfa, regarding what are like the steps that you can take when starting your Common App essays. So moving on, I do see that we have some questions in the chat box as well. So thank you for the presentation. When applying and you're asked the question about why this school, like what would be some tips for this? So I think what Hina means here is how did you guys select the schools that you would want to apply to? Let's start with Josephine on that.
Like why Oxford? Um, I don't know. I don't think I was actually asked that in a specific like written format. So when applying for UCAS, it was just like a personal statement about law. If anything, you're not supposed to mention a particular university because the same personal statement is going out to all the different universities. So I think this might be a bit more US targeted. But I was asked why study law at Oxford during my interview. Um, and I think that was very much particular to why I decided to study law in the UK instead of Indonesia, just because of the nature of law. So I'm not sure if I could provide as much insight to that particular type of
Mm,
question because I think that's more common with US universities being asked like why that particular university.
mm. Or can we think about it this way? Like, what were some strategies in you? Because obviously for our UCAS application, you have to pick like 5 universities, right? On what kind of what criteria was there for you, like when you were picking
Okay.
the universities? Yeah.
Right. So like a personal criteria, if it was like my personal choice, I think it was definitely like how good that particular university is in the subject that I'm interested in. I think like Jenny mentioned that her subject was quite niche, and that said, like LSE provided the most tailored course, and that was most interesting. I think I had a similar reasoning for Oxford. So you had to choose between Oxford or Cambridge, and obviously they're both very, very good law schools. But I chose Oxford because like I was interested in that more theoretical element of the law. So I would recommend definitely looking at the particular course at that particular university because it's very difficult to transfer between subjects in the UK. It's not like the US where you could come in like undecided or like slightly and have like a major, a minor. It's very different. Um, there's no general course at all. Like once you start the course, it becomes very technical, very niche, and very specialized quite early on. And that's why I decided to go to the UK as well. Partially it was because the US didn't have undergrad law school. So that was a consideration. I think my top choices were Oxford and LSE just because I liked how the courses were structured. I liked that LSE was more commercial, but I liked that Oxford was more theoretical in terms of the degree. Everything else, I think I just applied based on like rankings. I wasn't super keen. Um, yeah, that's why. I also applied to NUS Law School in Singapore. That would have been my third option. And if I did not get any of those three universities, I would have actually preferred just to stay in Indonesia.
Mm,
Um, yeah,
right.
because then like I think I also took into account of like job prospects, like look into like how many of their graduates end up at a specific place, something like that. Like just the brand recognition, because at the end of the day, universities are brands that you want to capitalize on. So that's how I approached it as well, on a practical but also substantive perspective.
That's right. That's right. Well, what about for you, Jenny? Like, what were some aspects that you looked at when you first applied to universities, like other than the academic aspect or like the ranking aspect?
I think this advice applies to both UK and US universities in a sense, because so I looked at what the school values, and I think that's really important if you're like applying for unis. Um, for me, I always care about the social impacts that we create and also how what we learn can be applied into the real world context and contribute to better our society. And I think that perfectly matches with the LSE's model, which is to find the causes of things for the betterment of society. So I think I kind of structured my personal statement more towards to the social aspect and the social impact of how we can use psychology and behavior science to better enhance our society. But at the beginning, it was basically like a reapplication, and I submitted on the very last day. So the deadline was January 25th. I submitted the night of January 24th. And so I've only applied to like 4 schools, so LSE, UCL, Edinburgh, and St Andrews. And so the first one that I heard back was from the LAC, and it was on like International Women's Day, March the 8th. And after I got it, I was like, that was the most competitive out of all. So I just made my choice. And I think I don't think I was particularly targeting a specific school at that time. I just wrote what I truly care about and what I truly love. And I think that perfectly matches what LAC is looking for. And I know that LAC is also perhaps like the most competitive out of all the unis that I have selected for the second round. So yeah, that was the advice I would give, to focus and figure out what the university actually value.
Right. So hope that answers your question, Hina. It's important to look at the academic aspect when you're picking your school, but also when choosing which university to apply to, also look at what the university values. That's very important. Right. So moving on, going down the chat in order. A question from Johnson. I think this one is more for Yuchen. What is the difference between liberal arts college and other US universities?
Yeah, sure, happy to share. So yeah, I didn't quite make the distinction when I was sharing, but liberal arts colleges, they, I'd say that they don't have the graduate program. But I also realized that for some like universities that like they also have like limited graduate programs. But then in general, I think that's the big distinction. So and like in general, the class size is much smaller compared with universities. Yeah, those are the I'd say like apparent differences. But there are also some like trickier um things with the liberal arts colleges. For example, they're considered to be um like, how can I say, like school for elite families in the US. So for example, in liberal arts colleges, you see many more um like students from privileged backgrounds as well as white students here. Whereas compared with the university, I guess like for example, U Chicago, or in general like public schools, there will be a lot more international students, students from different backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one thing with student composition. And then whatever comes with the different structure of the school is definitely that, for example, liberal arts colleges have a focus, or say all the professors here have a dedication toward teaching students. And the primary focus of theirs would be like the interactions with their students. So for example, research here is not as much about like advancing the research for the professor and for the labs, but more about teaching students the skills and making sure that undergraduates are involved. Whereas compared with a university, then I guess the focus is more, then there will be definitely more topics covered in the research labs. The labs are in general bigger. There will be postdocs and like PhD students in the labs. And then yeah, those are like very different vibes as well. So I think that's
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I know, right? Like I think there are a lot of really good liberal arts college out there, but I don't think they are kind of like the first colleges that people will, think about when they want to apply for the US. So I think it's actually pretty nice that we can actually touch a little bit on what is liberal arts college, and for people to, if you want to apply for the US, I think these are also some great universities or like colleges that you can consider. So going down the list, oh my, seeing Yuchen answering in typed answers to Alut and Hina. That's awesome. Right. So going down, another question from Johnson. So what are some key differences between US or like North American unis and UK unis? So I think if Jenny, if you can answer that. I mean, you've touched on slightly like for example, like the class size or like the safety aspects. What are some other key differences that you have identified having to have this experience of studying in under two very different systems?
I think one of the most important thing about that is that I think these are very two different cities, especially where they're located. They're located in different continents. And I think another aspect I would perhaps add on is that I think, for example, many people ask me about how I choose the unis. I think the city matters a lot because in a lot of sense, you are shaped by the city that you live in a sense. For example, like in Toronto, people are very chill and like but then I moved to London. Everyone is walking so fast on the streets that like you just feel like you would be left out if you don't walk as fast. And I have realized that my walking speed in London has been so much faster than when I was in Toronto. So like I think the city wise, when choosing the city is very important because you're shaped by the city that you live in a sense. You're exposed to different cultures and everything. When I was in North America, I was exposed to the North American culture in terms of, fashion styles, the living styles, how you talk, the accents and everything. Whereas in the UK, they have their own kind of like accents as well as, the different culture that you're exposed to. And I think in terms of the university, I think I can speak up on U of T and LSE. And I think these two universities are drastically different. And in LSE right now, my program because LSE itself, we don't have that large of an undergrad body anyways. And the university is very niche because it targets more to the social sciences subjects rather than including everything. So it's very niche and very targeted in a sense that and also it's very selective with the admissions process. So my whole entire program right now, my biggest lectures is basically 56 people. And that's a very big difference compared to 1,000 people at U of T. So, and then because at the same time, we also have seminar classes, which we usually have 10 to 15 people. Usually in my class, we're 10. So in that sense, it's very, very easy to reach out to your professors as well as building a very strong interpersonal relationship with them alongside with the teachers and everything. And then I think it was so much easier to get involved in a sense when you're in a smaller university because at U of T it's very hard to connect with your professors in a sense that like among the 1,000 people, the professor, it's like him or herself or whatever, like they are very busy. So I think that's the biggest difference that I would say between Toronto and LSE. And I think the culture wise is very different as well. I do realize my accent started to change a little bit since I moved to the UK, and then my walking speed. And also, I think LSE is very career orientated. So that's something that is very different than U of T. So we emphasize so much on the spring weeks, the insight weeks, and everything, as well as your securing internship in year two and all those. And I think in North America, I did not feel that strong of a sense of, focusing on careers as well as thinking so much ahead into the future. In North America, it was more focusing on like your studies, having a good student life, university, and that. So I think these two are very, very different.
Right, that's right. And these are all like considerations that we have to take into when choosing universities. Awesome. So I think conscious of time, I think we also don't have any further questions in the chat as well. So let me go back to the slides. Thank you so much. And that's going to be all the questions for today and also all for our episode 2 as well. So we hope that throughout this event, you are feeling more confident with your Uni app and know exactly what it takes for you to, for example, to stand out. Also, we've covered topics such as transferring between universities. You might be wondering, why am I even knowing this, like transfer during universities when I'm in my IB years? Well, it's first of all kind of like it's like a future heads up. And also it is something that's sorry, I'm just admitting someone in from the lobby. And it is also about having kind of like like the courage to pivot, to either to move like Jenny move from U of T from one country to like another country, or just like what Yu Chen is doing, moving from one liberal arts college to Northwestern University. So it's kind of having this courage, and also to keep in mind that there is opportunity for you, even when you get into university, to rethink your decisions, really. Right. And then we also talked about financial aid from all three of our speakers, all very intelligent and wise, having all received FA from universities. These are all opportunities that we can look out for. And also the differences between UK and North American schools. So now let me bring your attention to our future events as well. So we still have 3 very exciting events down the line during our summer. So please make sure to stay tuned for that. They're on extracurricular activities and then UK and US applications. So again, I do realize that we're running a little bit over time, but we would really appreciate it if you would stay with us for another 5 minutes as we have some announcements to make. So for the first announcement, as you can see from all 3 of our speakers, that kind of like being active in the community is really important. It's not just about your grades, as Josephine has highlighted several times. So then now EduCrate, now we are offering you a chance to look no further. So because we are opening creative intern recruitments for IB students. So you will be involved in developing engaging content and campaigns. So this would be a great way for opportunity for growth and training over the summer break. So remember, this would also count towards your CAS and could be something potentially you can write in your university application as well. So for more details and for the application process, you can scan the QR code here, okay? And we also have something very exciting to announce on our own EduCrate competition called the EduCrate Challenge. So this is a great way for you to showcase your critical thinking and tackle IB exam-like questions and win prizes such as cash gift, discount, and certificates. So you will also be able to get personalized feedbacks from our educators. So I cannot stress how important these are, like these feedbacks are when it comes to your IB revision. So in order to get involved in this on-platform fun game, it's very simple. So you just use this URL over here to log into our platform. You register for an account, and then you browse for questions that are tagged with EduCrate Challenge. So something like this. Okay, this is like a sample question that we've already posted from one of our educators. Feel free to answer it in the comment section, and then we will be able to choose the winners. Also, for all participants, you will receive like personalized feedback from our educators as well to help you with your IB learning and your IB revision in the future as well. So also just a quick tip, when logging in to our platform, please use your laptop for easier use, okay? So now we also, let's welcome a very special member of ours who is from our EduCrate Ambassador program to tell you all a bit more about what our Ambassador program is about. So let's welcome Hina. She is currently a IBDP 1 moving into DP2 student and also currently an ambassador for EduCrate as well. Hina, if you can unmute yourself. Oh, I think is your internet a bit laggy? I think. Oh, right. Awesome. Hello, Hina. Are you guys able to? Is it her or is it me? Am I lagging or where's? Okay, I think it's probably the internet on Hina's side.
Yeah, she's lagging a little bit. And I think our share screen paused as well.
I know because I'm kind of like checking in whether or not if Hina is able to unmute herself.
Yeah, let's give her some time.
Yeah. Very sorry. Tech difficulties, as always, always kicks in. every time. Right. If Hina is not able to present about the ambassador program, then I'll take over from here. So then the second announcement that we would want to
Sorry,
share. Hi.
really quickly, sorry. I received a message from Josephine saying that she has to hop off. So thanks to that, if she's still here. No, no. Okay, never mind. I think Hina is back too. So see if she can continue from here. Hina, can you hear us? Yeah, but I think there's something with the sound that we can't really hear you at the moment.
No, can't hear
No,
you.
we still can't hear you. No worries. Let's wrap it up first for now and give Hina a bit of time to sort out the sound bit. Don't stress. No worry.
So should I move on to the next slide, or do you want me to present the ambassador announcement?
Happy to take over from here. So basically, this is a talent selection program that we're currently doing. Hina, obviously, she's a member. Okay, let me turn on my camera so in case people know who is speaking. So Hina is obviously one of our best, greatest ambassador so far with all her excellent performance and contributions. So she is more than happy to kind of share her experience, and feel free to connect with her after the session if you have any questions regarding how this ambassador program work. But essentially, this is a talent selection program where we do provide the kind of mentorship opportunities as well as resources and network support to kind of allow you to nurture any of your initiative that you wish to pursue, as well as preparing you in uni applications, etc. So feel free to scan the code if you're interested in checking that out. But for the time being, let's move out because we are running a bit behind time. So back to Isabel.
Yep. Thank you, Sally. So, then last but not least, if you enjoyed what EduCrate is doing right now, our events, our program, our challenge, or if you just want a place where you want to meet and chat with other IB students, you can join our WhatsApp community. So in our WhatsApp group, you will find yourself immersed with exclusive resources from us, also the newest updates from EduCrate. So this is meant to be kind of like an IB safe house for everyone. So even if you're there just to observe, there's going to be plenty for you to gain. So you can just scan the QR code right here. Right, so I think that wraps things up for a little bit for all of our attendees. So again, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today. So if you have any specific questions that you want to ask the panelists, probably after the event, any follow-ups, you can always scan the QR code to follow us on Instagram, drop us a DM, and we'll make sure that this message will go to our panelists. And remember also to watch out for the next episode for our event. It will be on the power of extracurricular activities. And no matter if you are DP2, DP1, or pre-IB students, there is definitely no loss in keeping in touch with us. So again, a warmest thank you to all, and we hope that you have enjoyed our session.